I want to talk about the world that we're living in right now because, like I said at the beginning, there's a lot of strange things happening. We saw lockdowns, medical coercions, mandates, inflation's at a 40-year high. Nobody seems to know what a woman is these days. So I want to get your take on what you think the hell is going on right now.
What I love about this week, nobody knows what a woman is.
I know.
So here's how awesome this is.
Okay.
You know why I like to interview communists? I think we've interviewed more communists on Valuetainment than any other channel on YouTube. And the reason for it is the following. The key with a communist or a socialist is to let them talk. The more a socialist talks, the more a communist talks, eventually, you know what happens? There's flaws in their argument. It doesn't work. So let's just say this whole thing with women, right? The question is asked, so what's a woman? Oh, why are you asking me a question like that? I'm not a biologist to answer that question. You don't need to be a biologist to know what a woman is.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm just not in that space, so just ask me a different question. But what is a woman? If you think you're a woman, you're a woman. Oh, really? Yeah, okay, cool. No problem. 4 weeks later, that same person is arguing for women's rights. You can't do that now. But what happens all of a sudden is they get stuck. And they're like, oh my God, now what do I say? What just happened is your BS got exposed. That's a beautiful thing. When you and I don't have an argument, okay, and you try to keep selling your point, the more you talk, if you truly have an argument, then I'm going to be like, you know what? She's got a good point. But if it's BS, the more you talk, then there's going to be leaks. And forget about me seeing the leaks in your argument. You're going to see the leaks in your argument. Now you're going to be like, oh, let me change the subject and deflect to go a different place. We've all done this. I've done it as a kid. You do it as an adult. You do it as you're going to go through this naturally. The biggest thing about today is bad ideas don't work. Bad policies have consequences. Ludicrous ideas eventually get exposed. And people are not naive or dumb. For the small percentage that wants to protect their egos and follow through on their parents' politics, whatever their parents' politics were, some people will never be Republicans because their dad cheated on their mom, and you will never, ever get them to be a Republican, because to become a Republican means you're saying your dad was okay for what he did. Some kids will never become Democrats or Republican because of upbringing. Some people won't become because it was a rich person in the family that left you and you didn't spend a lot of time with them. So to everybody you see in your life, you see it as that. I was 14 years old. The first time politics was something that I was having to think about because our Miss Luz, our teacher, was talking about it. So I come home and I said, Mom, are we Democrats or are we Republicans? And she says, yeah, we're Democrats. I said, why are we Democrats? And she says, we're Democrats because Democrats are for the poor and Republicans are for the rich. I said, you know, when I grow up one day, I want to be a Republican. And I have no clue what a Republican is. All I meant to say as a kid is, I want to be rich one day. I'm a registered independent today, center-right, politically full capitalist when it comes onto economy. But I think they're losing because their arguments make 0 sense long-term.
But why are we at this point where these policies and arguments, although they make 0 sense, are actually being implemented and rolled out across America, but also across the world? Because Americanization is very powerful and very real.
The moment you're within a clique, most people feel the obligation to agree with anybody on your clique says, right? And it's very hard to disagree with people in your own clique. So parents, your dad believes in something, it's hard to say, I don't know if I believe. Mom says, I don't know if I believe that, right? Okay. All right, so if you've always voted Democrat, okay? And the Democrats say, well, here's a trans this. And you look around, you're like, oh, okay. I got 19 other Democrats I respect are saying this. Yeah, so here's what and you're like, but I don't believe that. Okay, that's kind of weird. Okay, that's not a big deal. Let's let this one go. It's not going to be a big deal. And then they say, but let me also tell you this. And here's why if you don't take this, you're not being responsible. And you're somebody that's maybe a freedom of choice when it comes down to, abortion or pro-life or pro-choice. You're pro-choice. And you're like, why am I forcing this person to take what they don't want to take? Isn't that pro-choice? But everybody on my side is saying, yeah, okay, yeah, you got to take it. If you don't care about my health because you're putting my life in jeopardy. You're irresponsible. And then you go home and you're like, that doesn't make any sense though, right? So some, unfortunately, will blindly vote for anything that their side says. Very few people will question, and those who question eventually will get closer to the truth, and those who don't will be a pawn that that party is going to use until you eventually can't think for yourself.